Yes, we are back with the group chat, and we are still here hosting a couple of specials that LIMF have brought to you called On Record, and I'm with my boy, the man, the legend that is KOF. How you doing, brother? You good?
I'm good, man. Yourself?
Yeah, man, I'm good.
Good.
I'm glad, to be honest, that we're kind of wrapping this up with you, to be completely honest with you, because when they originally asked us to sit and cover or sit down with an artist from the city, people putting on for the city, one of the first people that I thought, like, we can't really put this piece together, a little bit of something to showcase without kind of taking them on a little bit of a tour of GoPlay and KOF, and kind of touching on that, especially when you're talking about like Liverpool music and the black music that comes out of it. I know a lot of it is created in these four walls. So I kind of really was looking forward to being able to pick your brains, and you've been doing mad things behind the camera for us since we started the group chat, but we kind of haven't had the perfect chance to get you in front of camera yet, and I just thought this presented us with a great opportunity.
Thanks for having me, by the way. Thanks for having me.
Thanks right now, man. That's a given. So yeah, from the work that we've been doing, yeah, I know you're heavily invested in the music scene at the moment, but just talk to us about like your what were your musical influences when you was growing up, bro?
Wow, musical influences. Like the first one I can ever remember is obviously like Michael Jackson, like the greats. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
I remember listening to like Earth, Wind and Fire around the household, like Sister Sledge and stuff like that. That's what was getting played.
Yeah. Did you have a musical family, by the way?
No, not a musical family, but there was always music getting played in the house, though, do you know what I mean? I remember, like, my dad used to have loads of records, and we had a turntable in there, and I remember taking the records and, like, thinking I could scratch and that, but, like, mashing up all the records, you know what I mean? Mad, crazy scratches in it.
Pops would have been pissed.
Yeah. As a kid, you just think, oh, it's a minor, but then as a grown-up, you think, shit, my dad must have been pissed when he come home and seen them records all scratched up, man.
100%. So from there, I know you grew up in London. Yeah. What was like, because we had a similar conversation with Johan when he came through, did you find it a bit of a cultural shock, or because you've got family from Liverpool, did you not really see it as much of a thing? In terms of the dynamic of growing up black in London versus being black within the city?
You know what? When I moved to London, I was like 6, and I do remember being, when I was in Liverpool, being in like an all-white school. Do you know what I mean? So the first school I remember, I went to school in like Wavertree first, and then we moved to like Norris Green. So I was in an all-white school in Norris Green. Do you know what I mean? But when I moved to London, everyone was so like multicultural. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was, white people were probably the minority where I grew up, do you know what I mean? So you'd have like Asian, like Bangladeshi, Pakistani, obviously black, white.
It is like a proper cosmopolitan city though, isn't it? It has been for years.
Yeah, proper.
So how did you find that then? Like, was it, did you think when you come back up to the city, did you notice yourself like, oh, I stand out a little bit more up here than I did down south?
Yeah, not so much, well, not so much like I'd say stand out, but you definitely do, like, you can see racism, you can feel like racism going on in the city, do you know what I mean? And I've felt it many occasions in the city, whereas in London, them kind of things you don't really feel or you don't really see, do you know what I mean? Racism's not really, don't get me wrong, racism's there, but it's not like how it is.
It's not commonplace.
In Liverpool, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I wouldn't,
like
maybe
visible like that.
Maybe if you go back, I know we'll touch on this, maybe if you go back over 10 years, 12 years, it might have been a little bit more commonplace. I feel like on a largely speaking or broadly speaking, we have got better in terms of a city. Our city has got a lot more tolerant. It's got more diverse as well over the years, which I think has been a huge benefit. So when did you think for yourself then? Yeah, I want to be an artist. I want to be a musician. What was the thinking behind that, bro?
Like I've always been into music. I wrote my first song when I was 14, but at that point I still didn't know that it was something that I wanted to like fully pursue. Yeah. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed writing. I enjoyed like, let's say, producing. I wasn't really producing them kind of days though.
So did you just write that on your own? Was that just like your own little vibe that you just picked up, or was you like a crew of yous, or what was the setup?
You know what? The first rap I ever actually wrote, it was when I'd started getting to I just started getting into hip hop.
Yeah.
And my cousin put me on to like loads of Tupac and loads of Biggie, so I was listening to loads of that. And then there was all the conspiracy about, Tupac, Who Shot and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? So my first rap that I wrote was a battle rap from a deceased Biggie to Tupac, because Biggie wasn't really dead. And I showed my cousin, I was like, oh, I've just found this rap that Biggie's wrote, because really he's not dead, like just trying to gas it. But yeah, that's the first rap I ever wrote.
And then when you moved up to Liverpool, like, what was the thinking behind that? Was it just to be closer to family? Was it to kind of...
a bit of both, really. Like, since when I moved to London, I always wanted to come back to Liverpool. Like, every month or a couple of months, I was always travelling back and forth. To see family, just you know, yourself as a Scouser man, there's something about Liverpool that draws you back to the city. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I came back when it was time for uni. Ended up going to Edge Hill down in Ormskirk.
Yeah.
So I was there for a few years, and yeah, that allowed me to be back around family.
What did you do up there in them ways?
I was doing drama and media.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. And to be fair, the course wasn't all that, but the actual experience of being in university
opened you.
Yeah, being away from home, those kind of things was a great experience for me, and that's where I first started getting into like writing music properly. Do you know what I mean? And starting like what was Young KOF them times.
Yeah. So talk to me about Young KOF them times. What was Young KOF's vibe? What was the music saying? Yeah.
You know what? Just pure energy, you know, and like same kind of vibe as now in the respects that the music that I make, there's no set genre to it. It's like I'll be rapping, might be singing. It might be a house-infused beat, it might be an old-school garage beat, it might be an R&B or singing on some kind of mad, smooth drill kind of thing, do you know what I mean? So I've always been varied with my style, and that was evident from like the first project that I made.
Because you've always sung as well, haven't you? Like back to back.
Yeah, I sang before. Yeah, I was doing this singing and rapping thing before Drake was even about. You know what I mean? But yeah, I was always singing first, and then I picked up the rapping at a little bit of a later age.
Yeah.
But yeah, always try to mix the two and blend the two wherever I can.
Wherever you can, that's it. So then, as you've like kind of finished university and you chose to stay in the city, what was you noticing about the music scene at that point from a Liverpool perspective?
You know what? In terms of noticing, there wasn't really nothing going on as far as I could see. There was a couple of DJs about, like Spycatcher, Olabean, who were about like playing music that was more from the States and stuff like that. But in terms of UK, they weren't really playing that kind of stuff, and there wasn't really that kind of music around that we could like see straight up. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So there was nothing really going on until I started doing bits in the city. Do you know what I mean? And started releasing songs and.
Well, that was one of the first. I know me and Marcel have had this conversation before, and we've sat down with you and we've kind of talked you through it as well, but that was what we noticed, like, us growing up at, like, between 2006 to 2008, there was just a period of time where just as young black lads, we'd spend most of our weekends out and we'd get the 86 into town and there'd just be a few tunes that we'd sit off on with the back of the bus, and like, you know, the Sony Ericsson days where you'd have Bluetooth each other songs or whatever it might have been, and there was just like a set few songs, and even at that time I feel like, was it Grime Fam, like Toxic Beauty? Yeah, like
Younger Mob.
Yeah, and all them. So like I feel like there was a few of them tracks on there. I feel like there was Bashy was definitely on there. He made the cut. You had like that, like End Dubs, Titchy Strider might have been on there, and then within that little playlist, if you could call it, there was Where Did We Go Wrong by KOF. Now for me, that tune, in terms of just the lyrics behind it, still resonated today. I mean, I'd you know, implore anybody, if they've not heard or seen the video for it, go and check it out on YouTube.
Proper old school now, though, you know.
It is in terms of the video and stuff like that side of it. It is old school, but in terms of the lyrics, lyrically, I think the message still resonates to 2020. Look at the year we've had, bro, and you know it's fair for, obviously for black people and for people of colour. We all have an understanding, and it's pretty much a universal understanding that racism still exists, and it can still affect our lives from a minor inconvenience to a major altercation on any given day. And we kind of understand that, but I think just the nature of how this year has kind of panned out and what other people have kind of been made aware of now, I think most people, largely speaking, are all on the same page that this is still here. Racism is still a problem, and it can still be seen as a significant problem to certain groups of people. So when you play that song back, I'm like, what's been learned? Do you know what I mean? From like that moment, and I'll let you talk on the song and why it all came together. But from my perspective, it's like, I was just a kid growing up at that point in time, and I'm thinking to myself, what's been learned from then to now? And it has to be a bigger change than this. But I'm not going to say a fully grown man, but like, you know, closer to 30. Back then I was in my teens. Do you know what I mean? So what was that for you? You know, give us a breakdown of like where your head was when all of that kind of first dropped.
I mean, when I wrote the song, I remember we was in the studio for about maybe 3 or 4 days working on a project, but like overnights, like doing all-nighters and that. And I remember one of us went out and grabbed the newspaper, and that was like all across the front of the newspaper. Like,
it was a massive story, but like just to give it a little bit of context, obviously, at the time, Anthony Walker, obviously a young black man in Liverpool, was out with his friends, and he was asked to walk one of his friends back to the bus stop, wasn't he? And he was brutally attacked by a couple of lads up in Highton, and he, you know, they killed him, unfortunately, with an ice pick of some description. And I think it just sent shockwaves around the city, but not just that. I think it sent shockwaves across the nation, really.
Definitely.
And I think it touched a lot of people. And I know since then, you know, the Anthony Walker Foundation has been set up. They've done a lot of charity work, and they do a lot of stuff within the community. Yeah. So it's had that aspect of it has had a lasting impact.
Oh yeah, massive. It's definitely had a massive effect on the city as well. And in terms of my music, I remember from around that period, I remember thinking about it, because at that point I used to use the N-word in a lot of my music. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think because we'd hear it in so much music, they almost emulate it. Do you know what I'm saying? And I remember making a conscious decision around that time to like just totally eradicate that word from my music, because I felt like it didn't set a good tone, it didn't set a good example, I felt, especially with making songs like Where Did We Go Wrong, and I'm talking about uplifting black people and some of the crazy stuff that's going on in society. Do you know what I mean? I just felt like it was a bit of a inconsistency for me to then
to
use
do
that
that.
word,
Okay,
do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And that was that whole period in time, because it's even when you listen to that song, it almost transports you back to that time.
It does,
the energy
yeah.
that was going on in the city at the time.
Did you notice that? Did people kind of take you in a little bit differently after they heard that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I think it was still very quite mature. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even like for the time of everything that came out, I think it was quite serious, but it was really poignant the way it just dropped and stuff.
Definitely, because I mean, before that, the music that I was putting out at the time, concept-wise, was like a mixture of some like real stuff, like kind of social stuff, but then obviously some of the kind of lovey-dovey relationship kind of tunes, you know what I mean? So when that come out, it was definitely, I think people definitely took me a lot more serious when it come to being an artist or a songwriter and a performer as well.
Did it open doors for you in the city as well in that respect?
Yeah, definitely, because we ended up like touring a lot of the schools, doing a lot of workshops, come across out of that. Like the song still gets used as part of the curriculum in certain schools now. Okay. What I mean? So different people will get in touch with me every now and again and be like, oh, we heard your song today in class. We're dealing with anti-racism and stuff like that. So yeah, so many different things. We did so many different projects or workshops, so much stuff even around the country, not just Liverpool. Off the back of that song alone. So
that's sick. So
really
it's definitely stood the test of time then, and I feel like not a lot of music can do that. So did you find it easy to write as a track, or was it quite emotional to go through? And
it was definitely emotional, because, you know, that's the city that we live in. Do you know what I mean? My cousin played basketball with him, or coached Anthony basketball.
Really?
So
no.
It was quite close to home. Do you know what I mean? But in terms of actually writing the song, it came out pretty quick. I remember we was all having a discussion about it in the studio. And the producer there, Defiance, who made a lot of my beats back then, he just put on this beat, and it kind of just came out, you know, because we'd been having a discussion about it. Yeah. And that just kind of just morphed into the song, and it was there, and people seemed to really like take to it and connect with it, which was amazing.
Sick. That's amazing. And was that the same sort of time that you was working with beats and stuff like that, and getting stuff out there with them?
Yeah, so that was definitely around the Airbeats times. I remember we had an office on Slater Street, that might have been, was that our first or second place? I think it might have been our first place.
Because I remember seeing your CDs in like Elements back in the day as well.
Yeah, Elements, yeah. Even like HMV and that. I remember we must have been like one of the first people unsigned to like, or independent to just go into HMV and then get the stuff stocked. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, anywhere we could fling the CDs out, we do. Do you know? Even putting on our own events and that, just to get rid of merch and.
So you've always had that kind of hustle as well, then, because that's been obviously led you to this point where you've got a studio now. How did you find that transitioning from just kind of focusing on your own production and looking after yourself to now building something that's a space for people that are kind of wanted to follow in your footsteps, whether you've been the obvious example for them or the wider music, you know, industry and influencers have said, well, I could do that, I just need a space to do it.
Yeah. In terms of getting into like owning a studio, I've always had a studio, whether it be or a setup basically, whether it be like at home or in the various different spots that we've had, like I say, Slater Street, but I done on Hope Street for a while and then Windsor Street. But in terms of actually having a studio that is open for the public to come and use and for me to engineer, I kind of just really fell into that by doing my own stuff. And then someone would message me and be like, oh, you got a studio, any chance I could record something? And it kind of just went one by one, and then word of mouth just spread. And I never really promoted it. In fact, I never promoted it, so everything was just word of mouth.
Okay, that's sick.
Up until probably like maybe last year, maybe a bit longer than a year, where I actually started promoting it and being active about, GoPlay Studio. But a lot of the time before that, it was like just people just saying, this
word of mouth, who you knew.
And also because of the type of music that Liverpool almost promotes, as a lot of bands and indie kind of stuff. So the studios cater to that kind of music, those genres and that. Whereas this one is definitely geared towards like black music, like hip hop, R&B, trap drill, those kind of genres. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I specialize in. And I think that's why a lot of the artists come here, because they know, obviously, a lot of them know that the stuff that I used to put out. And that kind of helps with in terms of them trusting me as an engineer and coming through the studio. So
definitely.
You kind of just picked it from there.
So what have you kind of noticed then in terms of maybe some sort of themes that have happened or anything like that from either artists that were stuff that people were doing maybe 10 years ago in and around Liverpool musically to what people are doing now? Because if I was to think back 10 years ago, you probably, for an example, you might not have had, everything might have been pen and paper. That might have just been the old school flex where it was just like, boom, I come with, a notepad full of bars. I've got my paper there. You can throw in a few beats. I'll be sitting in a session for a little bit and I might still be writing because I've not finished it. But like, that was the process. Now I feel like maybe you will get some artists that still do that, but I can imagine a lot of people are there just like, boom, notes in my phone.
You still get the real ones, and I won't even say the real ones, you still get the kind of like the ones who feel that it's more authentic to write in a pad, you know what I mean? And I'm like that as well. Like, I can write in the phone, but there's something about when you're recording or you're writing into the pad and it's your handwriting, it's your words, that it just feels a bit more natural. I don't know, man. But yeah, you get a bunch of people on the phones. One of the things that I've noticed that's different is that the artists, I feel like they're more willing to take risks. So,
in what sense?
In a sense of like, you might have like the cruddiest road kid come in, but he wants to sing. Do you know what I mean? He wants to, have you got auto-tune? I've got this little wavy one there, little melody.
He's been working on a little hook.
Do you know what I mean? But then they might come in the next week and then do some next kind of drill tune. Do you know what I mean? That is way more cruddy. So, where before you wouldn't get that, people they're either one way or the other. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he was firm in the boxes back in the day.
I mean? But now, people are really willing to take more risks, and I think that can only make the music better, and it just makes people be more creative as well.
Do you think there's more eyes on the city now? From I know, like everyone within Liverpool, or the people that are invested within the music scene, they'll know who the artists are, they'll know who the go-to MC or drill artists are in the city. But do you think with the likes of, I know you was involved with the BBC thing the other day, the rap tour, do you think nationwide now there are other people looking into our city as like it's a scene of interest because of what it could potentially be?
You know what? I think so. And if not now, that time will be upon us soon.
Okay,
you know what I mean? I'm sure. I feel like the scene is not even so much the scene, but the scene of music at the moment in the UK, they're starting to move further outside of London or respect artists from outside of London.
Yeah.
You've got the Birmingham ones like Mist.
Got Lotto Boys, Millions, them ones, yeah.
Manchester, there's a few there that are doing their thing now as well. So obviously I feel like it might be a thing of them wanting to, not even, more so them getting accustomed to the accents, to the different types of accents, the different types of slang, do you know what I mean? And it's slowly going further and further outside of London and they're getting more and more accustomed to it. So yeah, I think definitely, if not now, Liverpool's definitely gearing up for
it's on its way,
next year or so, do you know what I mean?
The next iteration of it all, that's sick. And when you work with the artists from Liverpool now, I know you are branching into the management side of the game as well. Dabbling. But this is what I mean, like there's just like, I'm always says like, when I was coming up for certain things and being a creative, she was always like, the more strings you've got to your bow, the better. Do you know what I mean? I feel like you're that type of don. You've got plenty of strings to your bow, so you're very versatile in what you're able to do. And your experiences now can not only benefit you in the here and now, they can also benefit the next generation coming through. Do you get me in that sense? How do you find that as like, or even just having a business, it's a black-owned business as well, I suppose. Do you find there's been challenges, or do you feel like there are avenues within the city that can help support you and kind of give you a bit of a platform?
You know what? I guess there are some avenues that could probably help to build up what I'm doing, but I've kind of always just maintained that thing of just do what needs to be done. Do you know what I mean? And just keep it moving, and not really ask for favors or handouts too tough. Do you know what I mean? And just kind of, and that, in a sense, like what you said, is why I've kind of wear so many hats when it comes to like whether I be editing, directing, or filming, or producing, or engineering. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of come out of a necessity of, if there's no one necessarily around that can do it, let me learn how to do it and just do it, and I don't have to rely on anyone. Then, do you know what I'm saying?
100%.
And that kind of relates to the same kind of thing in terms of help from the city or whatnot. It's kind of just, I just kind of come up with the ideas in terms of in-house. Yeah. And then just kind of just try and roll them out really, and just head down, just keep moving.
So was there ever originally a vision for the setup, the GoPlay studio, or is that, again, as you said earlier, it's kind of just morphed into that now that you're here and it's kind of become a staple for the musicians to come to in terms of the go-to studio? Have you got now more of an expansive vision for what you would like GoPlay to turn into?
I have got ideas of what I would like it to turn into, but to get it to that level, I'm definitely going to need a bit more help or a bit more different. I think inputs. That's where, do you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of the stuff that I do is mostly on my own, do you know what I mean? So, and it can be quite a lot, especially with the ideas and the different kind of aspects of content that I want to put out or that I want to produce, do you know what I mean? Like there's so much stuff that is in the list to do that at the moment I'm not able to do because I'm doing this or I'm doing that or something else.
Someone else is popping up, yeah, so, 100%.
Which is cool because like it's good to be busy. But yeah, there's definitely a bunch of plans for GoPlay coming up over the next, like obviously 2020 kind of slowed everything down for everyone.
Have you been surprised though about how kind of resilient, I want to say, or robust, maybe is a better word, the music scene's been this year, especially the black music scene from Liverpool? I feel like we just, didn't. You could tell us to shut shit down. I was like, nah, we're still going. Like releases have still been dropping. People have been doing certain collabs. They've been doing loads of like. Culture Deck have been hooking up with people. Do you know what I mean? I know Kitchen Street have been doing some stuff live. It's just like you'd expect everything to have had a bit of a shutdown this year, and people kind of just put their head down and was like, all right, well let's just get back to making money. Until the time's right, do you know what I mean? But it's not been that way.
No, everybody, I feel like it's as if everyone's going harder than they were before, do you know what I mean?
Okay,
now, like, they've got a point to prove, man. Like you say, like since I opened the studio back up, like it's been non-stop bookings. You know, like I was getting calls for studio throughout lockdown, throughout the whole of lockdown, no joke. Like Boris would be on the TV saying, yeah, everyone needs to stay in, I look at my phone, I've got a message, oh, any chance I can get in studio today? Like,
You're not watching the news, my
can you
G.
not see what's going on? But that's good, because that just shows how hungry people were to get in, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I say, as soon as we opened back up, like it was just, it was popping. And funny enough, there's so many new artists as well, somehow got introduced through GoPlay over the lockdown. So
sick.
There's a bunch of new artists coming through now, so there's a lot more music that's about to start
flooding the streets as well. Yeah.
So and even that's exciting, man, because there's some, like I say, there's some really versatile artists. So yeah, no, it's exciting.
Nice. That's it. So from your perspective, you know, I know you've kind of been around, as you said, at the very start of things, and you continued on that journey, and you kind of, your own roles morphed, because I feel like you are quite an integral part of the scene now. I feel like if, for a lot of the musicians, they're still not at that point where you might have been in your early days, where you had your own setup, and again, kind of self-sufficient. Even if I can't go down to London to record this weekend, or get up to Manny, I can still record my demos, my roughs here, and then I can take them and use them somewhere. I feel like a lot of people are slowly starting, there's a few artists that I know that are starting to create their own little setups as well, so they're a little bit more self-sufficient.
Definitely.
But I feel like if we was to uplift you now and take you out of the scene, we'd still be lacking in terms of our ability to just flood the streets right now with with music and the volume that can be generated. A lot of that is coming out of this studio at the moment. Like, do you feel that, like, when you're working with some of these artists now, do you feel like you're taking on a bit of a mentory role? Not like
I do in some aspects. I'm with some artists. I do take on that role. Do you know what I mean? But it depends on the artist.
Yeah.
Like, it depends
like not
on,
overly intentional is what I was trying to say. Do you know what I mean?
No, definitely. But yeah, so it kind of depends on the artist who's coming in, who shows like work rates, and who also, when I'm speaking to them or giving them different types of advice, how they take that advice. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes if they, like, some artists have egos, you know what I mean? They don't really want to be told, oh, try it this way or do this, do you know what I'm saying? And if I kind of sense that kind of vibe, then I just leave them to it and let them do their thing, and give advice if I can, do you know what I mean? But more time I'll let them do their thing. But then there's other artists who'll come through that want your input on, should I do it this way or should I do it that way? What do you think? Do you know what I'm saying? So everyone's different.
Because that's what I was thinking about, the change of things as well. Have you noticed with like certain changes, like back then or back in the day, it was, well, I wouldn't even say it was cooler too, but man then would come up and rap in accents. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you find yourself telling people, yo, bro, you just have to allow that one, or like?
You know what? If they do, like, say if someone's like they're from Anfield but they're speaking like they're from like LA, do you know what I mean? Like, I might mention it and then see how it goes. If they take it, they take it. If not, or they might rap with a London accent. But I let people do what they want to do. I might mention to them, but yeah, I'm not no one to judge what anyone should be or how they should be rapping or what accents and stuff like that. So
okay.
I'm gonna let them do what they want. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But you still find it there is that need to kind of, or there is that need sometimes to just coach people in the right directions, or just give them a little bit of wisdom in terms of what you can offer them to make their sound a little bit better or clearer, a bit more clarity. And
I try to do that as much as possible. Do you know what I mean? When I see an artist who, like, the music that they're making is something that I can connect with. Okay, so I can tell that they're hungry, they're about their craft. So even like someone like Nak, I was working with a lot last year towards the beginning of the year, because he's just so skilled, so talented, and that was someone who I could definitely see myself in when I first started making music. Do you know what I mean? So someone like that just making me, let me see if I can do this, or I can help you do this, or I can shoot you a video for this and this and this. Do you know what I mean? And just get behind artists and try and almost, basically with what we did with Nak, and just introduce him to the scene in Liverpool. And now obviously he's doing this thing, he's doing a lot of writing for a lot of artists and stuff like that. So I enjoy doing stuff like that as well with certain artists. So there's a few other artists in Liverpool that I've done the same kind of thing with. It's just not like, this is what I'm doing for my It's
just more of an organic thing that you just kind of got in house.
Definitely.
I think that's it. So, like, what's been the kind of one of your biggest highlights then from, you know, you've had a long-standing music career. I know you're still putting out music as well. You still see yourself very much as an artist.
Not putting out music as much as I should be, but I've got a lot of stuff coming out.
Okay, sick. What would you say would be a highlight for you then in terms of either just a personal one or either looking from the outside into the Liverpool scene? What would you say is a moment in time that we've had up to now and be thinking, yeah, boom, that moment there kind of was a turning point, or in your own career?
It's a good question, you know. You know what I want to say? This is not a highlight because there's a lot of different highlights, but this is one of them. Is back in the day we used to do an event called what was it called? Urban Infusion.
Okay, yeah.
So some people will remember this if they went, like the real ones will remember it. And it used to be on Berry Street in a place called the Dragon Bar. It's changed name now. And it was this tiny little venue, but bear in mind, nobody's really doing hip hop in the city or rapping or like that, and it's only us more or less. And we've got this little club, probably like capacity like 50 people, and we've just got it rammed out like that. And it was just so sick. And that was like the early days of, like, don't get me wrong, there's people doing hip hop before us, like say like Two Kind and people like that doing their thing as well. But at that period in time, there was nothing really popping. So that was like a great vibe because it was almost like the start of something that was happening. You know what I'm saying?
Sick.
So it's a great highlight. But even, you know, how the scene is now, looking at it, and like you mentioned that BBC documentary that just come out as well, it's exciting to see the scene now because there's so many different styles. Everyone's up in their game. Everyone like seems hungry. So I'd say now is a highlight as well because it's quite an exciting time.
Yeah, I was just say I feel like the artists now seem more comfortable.
Yeah.
In the respective lanes. Do you know what I mean? I feel like, or even when I was, you know, coming up and just leaving, you know, secondary school, that sort of time, everyone was competing to be in the same space.
Yeah.
Almost. There wasn't really a huge like sort of scope for the music. It was, I wouldn't say one-dimensional, but it was all kind of one tone, one tempo. That was kind of the feel for it. All very similar.
For a while, I won't say a lot of the Liverpool rappers, but there was a time period where a bunch of rappers from Liverpool just sounded like A-Star. A-Star flow, you know, and it took a little while for people to kind of break out of that and kind of get their own flair, get their own style.
But as I was saying, I feel like now it's more, I feel like those that have been going for years now are just like, well, we're hip-hop. This is what we do best, and this is what we love doing, and this is what we're going to continue to do for our scene. And then you've got some man that have just come through now and been like, I've literally just come through. I never did the grind thing. I've never done the hip hop thing. I'm just sticking with this drill thing, bro. Let me just do this. I'm just gonna do up drill. Do you know what I mean? But then you've got the blend, and you've got like, you know, people like Sub Blue coming with like that neo soul. Obviously, Mike Lowry still R&B. You've got even people like Raheem, and he's coming with like that kind of fusion and Afro beats with a bit of soul as well. So I'm like, there's so much to it, but you could start to see all of these artists that we've just mentioned then working and collaborating with each other and bringing the other bits of the ingredients to make a track or to make a project. Do you know what I mean? Like, whereas back in the day it would have just been straight bars, and I feel like most people were just doing like freestyle videos or kind of like the little remix videos of like an American drop, do you know what I mean, and just jumping on them. And they weren't really tracks as such, but as a video it still might have got views. I think London kind of led the way in terms of changing it from just spitting and doing the remix thing to then being like, well, Afro beats is the way we make our songs. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like slowly but surely we've kind of cottoned on, but as I'm saying, everyone's kind of happy and more comfortable in the respective lanes now, and they know what they bring to the bigger picture almost, you know what I mean, is the scene.
Definitely. Everyone's like proud to be from the UK now, and for the UK, their music to sound like it's from the UK. You know what I mean? Like everyone's proper like backing it, which is good. And like I say, once it starts trickling up and it starts spreading around the whole of the UK, and everyone's got that confidence in their sound.
Because it's mad, and it's going to be like, because I always think of it like the East Coast, West Coast type thing. Do you know what I mean? And like originally, if you was from America or outside looking into America, if you were from the East Coast or the West Coast, you ain't on this rap thing. do you know what I mean? But they was on this rap thing, and we just, as a kind of a secondary market to the American market originally. We was only getting fed the mainstream that was coming out of it. So at the same time that there is kind of your Biggies and your Jay-Z's and your Snoops and your Dre's, you know, respectively on the other coasts of America, there is still the big boys and your Andre 3000s down in Atlanta doing their thing, do you know what I mean, and creating a buzz. And it might have taken them a little bit longer before we over here heard it, but at least within America's, you know, within their own peers, they were still getting acclaim, they were still getting attention, and I feel like we're kind of emulating the same sort of thing. I think, you know, London has got a very strong pull in terms of the music that we, you know, black music, urban music. It's always going to be number one in that respect. But then I feel like a close second now is probably Birmingham and Manchester. They're kind of vying for the second spot, do you know what I mean?
Definitely. But I'd say Birmingham was maybe a little bit ahead, you know.
I would as well. I feel like they are probably a little bit ahead just because of the numbers, but I feel like when Manny comes through...
that's it. Birmingham's been a lot longer, so it feels anyway.
Yeah. But again, it's just like now, it's just, before you know it, you like, especially when it comes to like new sounds, like you had your traditional hip hop sounds from the East Coast, the West Coast, but then trap is a down south thing, if I'm not mistaken, do you know what I mean? So it's like, in the next 5 to 10 years, Liverpool could make the next sound that eventually the Londoners are recreating, do you know what I mean? So it's just...
like, there's no reason why not. Imagine though, you had a bunch of Londoners rapping with a Scouse accent.
Well, do you know what though? What I think's funny now, especially with drill, I think I heard it in maybe a Million song, and I'm not big on the drill artist myself, but I'm sure like he says a few things where like a few of the the roadmen will say, I'll go and link the Scousers, and whenever they say that they're gonna whenever they say they're gonna go link the Scousers, they always drop a little Scouse accent to just kind of go with the bar. So I feel like they're half on it already, do you know what I mean, in that sense? And I think that's like quite sick, because I feel like they're about, and they know, do you know what I mean? Like Liverpool, in terms of, you know, when you're talking road, I feel like Liverpool's got a very clear history in terms of the underworld and the kind of the ongoings and in all that kind of activity. So there are no better cities really to kind of plug if you're going to be talking that kind of content. For yourself, now that you're kind of, you know, fully established within the city, you know, you're helping the next generation come through, what is it that you're kind of really hoping for from the city? What is it that you're looking to see in the next couple of years yourself, bro?
Yo, I just want everyone to thrive. Do you know what I mean? I want there to be more of an infrastructure in the city. Do you know what I'm saying? Obviously, like you mentioned, you got like people like Culture Deck who are doing some bits to promote the scene. Sound System 4, I think they're called. And obviously, look, you got GoPlay that doing the thing as well. I think
more media outlets, is that then in that sense, almost?
Across the board, so those types of things, so like media outlets in terms of content and doing things that can give outlets for artists to kind of showcase their talent, do you know what I mean? But then even events like venues and stuff like that, obviously there's Kitchen Street, but other than that, like, there's not really venues where people can go to perform our type of music on a regular basis, and that also helps to add to build up the scene, do you know what I mean?
Is that what you'd say is probably the biggest difference between us and maybe like even a Birmingham and Manchester? Let's forget London for a second. Their infrastructures, even for those cities now, still are quite...
Definitely, and theirs might not be complete. Do you know
as well, ahead of us.
The road than what we are. Do you know what I mean? Like Manchester, I could probably name about 4 different
studios.
Spots. Not even studios, but like places where people can go and perform. Where
sick.
But like managers, we've got a lot of artists and people who will stand in front of the camera, but we need more people behind the camera as well. So like managers, like agents in terms of like booking shows and putting stuff on like that. Even like stuff like stylists and writers, you know, people who will write for different magazines. Even like, you know, even, like, people could start their own magazine. You know, you've got like Bido Lito, which is like a music magazine for Liverpool.
Sick.
And they do feature black Liverpool artists, but it's still quite indie band
orientated.
You know what I'm saying? So there's no reason why we can't have something that is more hip hop, like our culture, the main type of thing. You know, so these different entities build up the scene as opposed to, it can't just be artists. That's not a scene, that's just artists.
Okay, sick, yeah.
I feel you've got to have all these different, because you look at the industry, there's so many different roles other than the artist, the cameraman, the editor.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man.
There's other pieces to the puzzle that need to like come together still.
Definitely, and support one another, which is what it seems like everyone's doing at the moment as well. Do you know what I mean? Which is making it even more exciting, because it never used to be like that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay, talk on that. Why do you think that was? Do you think that's a Liverpool thing? Because me and Marcel, we even even if we're not just talking about music, we have this going. No, everybody wants. That's his thing. This is my Marcel impression, by the way. Everybody wants to see you when you do good, but the second that you're not doing that, nobody wants to know. Do you know what I mean? It's that type of vibe.
It's true, and I think it's one of those things, because the city's so small. If someone kind of makes it big or starts getting the attention, they kind of want to keep it for themselves, and they don't necessarily want it to give it to anyone else. Do you know what I'm saying? Which doesn't really benefit the scene on a whole. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's good that people are starting to do those types of things and collaborate more. Whereas before, it was that kind of thing of like, not crews, but everyone was in their own kind of bubble doing their own thing, and it was like more like fuck you. Do you know what I'm saying? Not so heavy, but it was there. Do you know what I'm saying? Where now everyone's kind of blending.
I think that's I think that comes with age, though, I want to say.
Yeah,
I feel like, as you were saying, we're very heavily artist dominated at the moment in terms of the scene. So I feel like, as you said to begin with, ego probably plays a part in that. And it's the competitive nature. I feel like there's always that competitive nature to rap anyway, and I think that's like what birthed hip hop, if there was that kind of clash, and it's part of it. So it's part and parcel. So there's always an opportunity to have to take the good elements from that competitive nature to drive competition to drive the scene forward. But in terms of embracing each other as we're all part of the same struggle, we're all part of the same journey, saying we all have the same issues on a large basis more often than not. We're the day-to-days, we're still getting harassed by the same our ops in terms of just general ops, or, the law enforcement of this world, the POPO, the Five, or whatever you want to call it. But you know what I mean? Like, there are more common things that we've got than things that separate us.
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean? So I feel like the more certain lads and girls have got older, they've probably, in their own personal lives, like they've probably started to take that stance and realise, and as a result, they wanted to do something that's more meaningful. Whereas back then it was pretty much for clout almost, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's probably benefiting us at the minute. But I definitely take on board what you're saying about the infrastructure for the scene, because I feel like in terms of Liverpool as a creative, I always struggle to be like, we are an international, worldwide known city. Do you know what I mean? Like, everybody knows Liverpool. If you ask people what you know Liverpool for, the first like two things that are going to come up are the Beatles and football. Do you know what I mean? So like, music is up there, and I'm just like, in my mind, I think to myself, if that is the case, how haven't we got a scene, a black music scene that rivals any other city? Do you know what I mean? Just because of how much love there is generated for our city. So
but they don't put no money into like black music in the city based off what the Beatles have done, because it's two totally different sounds and genres and generations. You know what I'm saying?
But I feel like we should move with the times. Like, if you look at the charts now, like this is what I find as another mad thing. Black people make up 3% of the UK. Do you know what I mean? So for like every 100 people that are knocking around, there's only 3 black people in that 100. Do you know what I mean? But if you look at the charts, I reckon the charts, there's at least 60 to 70% representation by black or mixed race people of colour. Do you know what I mean? Definitely. So when you're kind of looking at it in that sense, our influence and our pull is huge. It is a huge pull and power that we've got. So I'm just like, maybe it's because Liverpool's such a we're such a socialist city. Do you know what I mean? Viva la revolution. Do you know what I mean? Like, if our shit starts to bang, everybody's going to be walking to the beat of our drum, and maybe that might not be the one for the country. But I just feel it always complexes me that, like, how can we have such a rich history and a rich present, and the spoils just not be going all around still? Do you know what I mean?
But it's timing though, you know, and it's like what you do when the light's on you. So I think when it is Liverpool's time, hopefully, and it looks like they are, everyone will be ready to take what they're supposed to take, do you know what I mean, and go where they're supposed to go with it, man.
Sick.
Which yeah, hopefully they'll do.
Fantastic, man. So yeah, I mean, I feel like there's so much that we could still talk on. I don't know, obviously you work with us at the group chat, and I think from me and Marcel's perspective, again, I don't want to talk too much for him while he's not here, but especially from my perspective, when we look to start the podcast, and we started at the start of the year, in our own little planning phase, it was right, well, what is it that we want to do and what is it that we want to achieve? And it was kind of become assimilated within the bigger scene and demonstrate that there is a bigger scene. And not only is the scene bigger than people currently know, it's more interlinked than people from the outside looking in would have thought, you know what I mean? Definitely. And I think that was one of our aims, but in order to do that, it was like, right, well, as two black lads that are creatives, entrepreneurs, where do we go to find our voice and kind of have people cotton on to the fact that, oh shit, that's going on there. And like, we just wanted an iconic setup, and we just felt like at the time, if we can work in and around KOF, and, you know, work it from GoPlay Studios, we're going to be, you know, putting ourselves in the right direction. And I think we kind of shared the same sort of vision on that when we linked up at the start of the year, and the stuff that you wanted to do for the channel. It just kind of seemed to fit. But all of those things from our perspective, you know, I know he said it before, if you would have told us both as 14, 15-year-old kids, yo, in 15 years time almost, you'll be working alongside, right? Do you know what I mean? Because we used to have you as an artist first and foremost.
No, definitely.
It would have been a little bit mad to us, you know what I mean? Because we just probably wouldn't have seen or connected the dots. So it's been a huge thing for us to be able to say that the group chat and GoPlay Studios, you know, this is the home of the group chat. And, you know, it has been massive in terms of being able to showcase especially what's going on in the city, and obviously bringing some sick people into the room, and hopefully more people want to come into this room and kind of create a little bit of magic and start their own musical journeys as well.
That's what we're about here, do you know what I mean? It's just about like seeing the new talent, nurturing them to a point of where like, well, what can we do for them, do you know what I'm saying? So it goes, like we spoke before, it goes on, it's a bit more than just recording them. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, and this is the kind of studio, and I feel like I've built this studio, and this is the studio that I should have had, or
you needed
when I was starting out.
Okay, music, so this is the studio you needed access to.
That's the one
when you was coming up.
Apologies, I'm super tired, but but yeah, this is, if I had this studio when I was coming up, it would have been perfect for me. Do you know what I'm saying? So now I feel like other artists have got that resource at their hands. You know what I'm saying? So,
absolutely. And they're taking advantage of it, man. They're like, that's what I'm loving to see in terms of, even if it's just, you know, there'll be some crazy visuals that come out. I know that you've got a host of specials, whether that's Fresh on Road, do you know what I mean? Whether that's Hall of Flames, all these things, all these new ideas that you're bringing.
We've got so many more ideas. I'm sitting on them, man, and it's peak because other people keep doing certain things, certain ideas that I've got. Someone will pop up and do something, or they'll be like, and it's not even like, oh, you can't me, do you know what I'm saying? Because obviously ideas come from everywhere.
Of course.
But it's just like, oh, nah, it means more so I need to even more so get on my game and like just fully find more time to be able to execute some of the ideas that I've got. Just because I just think it'd be sick for the scene and sick for the artist, you know what I'm saying? And it's stuff that I'm passionate about and that I'm excited about as well doing. So even more so, it's enjoyable then, you know what I mean? Yeah,
so I feel like you never have a day in work then, do you? I remember someone. Sometimes. A wise said to you, if you do something that you love, you're never gonna do a day's work a day. So.
Now, don't get me wrong. Like people will always say, "Oh, like your job's so sick. Like you just get to work in the studio." And don't get me wrong. Like it is. You know what I mean? But sometimes it can be hard because you're dealing with a lot of different people, a lot of different artists.
Characters.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And sometimes the artist thinks that they're the only person in the world, do you know what I mean? And to them, they are, do you know what I mean? But like sometimes, like some people will call me. Like I remember this guy called me at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And he was like, "Oh, can I get in the studio tonight? Like you meant, I thought you was open 24 hours." And I think like 1 o'clock. I think it was like Sunday morning. But yeah, so people will just call you. So to go back, yeah, it is a great job and it's fun to do, but sometimes it can be hard. It can be very stressful as well when there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. So plans to expand the team?
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely. There's
more
plans
hands.
to expand. But you know what the thing is? It's like when you're running your own business, it's hard to find people who will be able to do it exactly how you want to do it. Do you know what I'm saying? And there's no point in me just being there all the time while they're doing it and micromanaging, because that defeats the whole object of them doing it. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's just about finding people who can do what needs to be done. And I'm kind of a control freak, do you know what I mean? So I almost want it to be done like a set way. You probably know from working on set things with me as well, do you know what I mean? But yeah, sometimes they can get a bit mad. So, but yeah, to expand is definitely the plan, and just be able to execute some of these ideas that we've been thinking about in-house and that.
Sick. Well, I look forward to it anyway. I know that we've got some more good stuff lined up, especially from the pod's perspective, but just from the musical perspective, definitely looking forward to a couple of the new releases that you've got lined up as well. Just because I think you've got so many different sounds. Like any different day is a different mood. You can just throw something KOF on.
Yeah, true. And that's the hard part in terms of like releasing, because I'm sitting on so much music and so many different types of genres. Like for me to even say to you like different type of genres, you might think, different type. Yeah, one's a bit wavy, one's a bit thingy, but I'm talking like the total end of the spectrum to the other end. Do you know what I'm saying? So the problem is, what do I release first then? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I might rap on something, or I might do single, I might do
I
something.
feel like you got to start with the rap. Come back. I feel like people need the bars back. Bring some bars back and just show them. Just show them the levels.
Be on to me about the rapping and that.
Yeah. Just come back and just show them the levels, and then just cut off onto something else.
I might do, but yeah. I just need to work out how I'm going to do it, because I just want to just get all this music off my back that I've been sitting on, and just like maybe, I don't know, one every week or one every 2 weeks. But it's like, I need a visual for all of these tunes, and do you know what I'm saying? So
now everyone just needs to flood your inbox and just tell you to start releasing stuff.
True. But to be fair, the next month or so, I'm definitely going to start releasing. Once I start getting stuff out, I'm just going to just be offloading it, because I'm sitting on too much music. Do you know what I mean?
Is right.
I'm getting bored of spinning it.
Just to yourself, yeah. You need people to hear it, man. Get some feedback. All right. Well, as I say, guys, we have been really lucky to be on record with LIMF Music Festival for the last couple of weeks. We've brought you these specials in conjunction with them to represent for Black History Month. So more than anything else, from my side of things, just wanted to wrap this up and just say big thank you and big up everybody that's been involved. Everyone that's in the music scene at the moment, keep doing your thing, keep plugging away. It's been a tough year, but as I say, you know, kind of diamonds are made under pressure. So I'll leave you with that one, yeah? You've been watching the group chat. It's your boy. Stay tuned.